What a blessing to be a witness at this historic Belmarsh Tribunal, building on the rich legacy of keeping track of war crimes of a variety of empires. We're focusing on the U.S. empire and the way in which it is continuous with earlier empires, and every empire is tied into lies and crimes and mendacity and criminality. Now, I very humbly speak from the vantage point of a people who have been hated for 400 years, but keep dishing out love warriors who have been traumatized for 400 years and keep dishing out wounded healers who have been terrorized for 400 years and keep dishing out freedom fighters. And the precondition of a love warrior and a freedom fighter and a wounded healer is what? To tell the truth, to expose, to reveal, to disclose, to unveil, to pull the cover over the lies and the crimes, the mendacity and the criminality. And here we are in 2022, sitting here in Harlem. You can see the precious brothers and sisters in this particular neighborhood, part of that same rich tradition in the face of predatory capitalism and its expansions around the world, in the face of white supremacy in all of its various forms around the world, male supremacy, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Jewish, anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, whatever ideology that loses sight of the humanity of people and its ways in which it gets intertwined into imperial orders that lose sight of colonized, ex-colonized, poor people, working people, disproportionately in the world, people of color. So when I think of my dear brother, Julian Assange, exposing the war crimes of the US government, George Bush, 45 drones dropped on innocent folk disproportionately. Barack Obama, 535 drones dropped on precious human beings disproportionately in so-called third world, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Libya, Somalia. No accountability. Very few raising their voices. This tribunal has the courage to pursue truth, and the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak, including the suffering of the victims of US imperial policy. Martin Luther King Jr. said what? My own government is the largest purveyor of violence in the world. The US empire, the largest empire in the history of the world, 800 military units around the world, AFRICOM on the African continent, and the sphere of influence in Latin America, treating Latin American countries as if they were just their backyard. Here comes our dear brother Julian Assange. The WikiLeaks says, let us show the world the underside of the American empire, the war crimes. But we've seen the invasions and occupations of Iraq. We've seen it in Grenada. We've seen it in Iran. We've seen it all around the world in the 20th century and the 21st century. And all we want to do is just to bear witness, to be a cloud of witnesses who cast a spotlight on the war crimes of the US empire, an empire that understands itself too often as a city on the hill, the beacon of hope, the exemplar of liberty and democracy. And we simply say, let us pull the rug from under that kind of narrow, truncated, and thoroughly misleading characterization. Let us show the ways in which to move from perceived innocence to corruption without a mediating stage of maturity, the move from becoming great and powerful in terms of military might and money and unbelievable wealth has not yet allowed America to grow up, to come to terms with its crimes, to come to terms with its lies. That's what this tribunal for me is all about. Got the painting here of El Greco, Toledo. Empire in ruins, relics. Why? Refusing to come to terms with the truth about itself, thinking in that the efficacy of lies can serve as the very means by which you move through history, through space and time. Belmarsh Tribunal says no, in the name of truth, in the name of justice, in the name of our decency as moral human beings in solidarity with our brothers and sisters of all colors and all nations, all gender and all sexual orientation, all religions, all secular sensibilities. We are in solidarity with their suffering to make it visible and to end on a note of resistance, resilience, with vision, courage, organization, and yes, my tradition, blues man with a little style and a smile. So in the face of this catastrophe, it will not have the last word. And in the face of these catastrophes, we will, in the name of those who've come before, who struggled so. Franz Fanon called them the wretched of the earth. In the name of the blessed, precious wretched of the earth, of all colors, we will hold up a bloodstained banner, a blood-soaked banner, and say, crimes will not have the last word, but rather our voices, our movements, our joys, our hopes, our visions, and our precious love for our brothers and sisters.